Hi there, it's Louise with you today, and I'm sharing a scrapbook layout process video created with the Kaisercraft Indigo Skies collection, which is released in April of 2017. Now, the first thing I want to talk you through is some of the absolutely gorgeous papers in this 12 by 12 collection kit. So I felt like this was a really neutral type of palette. It had enough feminine pattern in it that you could use it for girls layouts, or in my case, because I primarily scrap my boys, that I could use this particular collection with the blues and the darker type colours to actually create a boy type layout. So the first thing I've done is I've gone ahead and chosen a 12 by 12 background paper in a lighter colour because I prefer to work with a lighter colour background initially. And then I'm just going to add some of the patterned papers, so a little bit of stripe there and also a little bit of the floral. So going into this layout, all I've chosen is a photo, and I knew that I wanted to scrap this page, but I really had no particular way that I wanted to scrap it. So all I've done is just looked at what's caught my attention with the patterns and the papers that I've got in this collection, and I've gone ahead and created that background. So off camera, what I've done is applied some clear gesso and just let that dry naturally, and then I'm just going to spritz the page with a little bit of water and then add some of the KAISERmist in the Aqua. Now, depending on the layout and the effect that I'm going for, sometimes I will let this air dry and sometimes I will use my heat gun. Now, in this particular case, because I want those splatters to sort of show along that right-hand side of the layout, I have opted to dry with the heat gun. Now, I'm looking at the colours that I've got in this layout and I'm thinking, okay, I've got lots of blue, I've got a really light background. What do I want to do? Do I want to make a layout that's just primarily blue and neutral with the whites? Or do I want to give it just a little bit of extra pop? So that's what I've done with including the yellows, and it didn't start off in my head, as I said, with any kind of plan, but I'm loving that little pop of extra colour that shines through in the finished product of this layout. Now, I think it would work perfectly well if you just decided to use the blue colours that come with this collection, but in my case I really like the yellows. So in continuing this layout, what I've done is I've taken the 6x6 paper pad and I've chosen some contrasting papers, and that's going to help me to build my cluster. So again, wasn't planned that I was going to make a paper cluster, but as the layout progresses, that's where I've headed. Now you'll notice when I'm building a cluster that I've gone through with my paper trimmer and I've just randomly trimmed some different size papers. So no structure, no planning involved in this, and all I'm doing is holding my photo on the layers and just gradually building that extra background. Now, in my case, I like to tear my layers in half. I don't like to waste paper behind a cluster that's not going to be seen. So you'll see that I do this all by eye as well. So it's not, I don't measure, I'm not a particularly structured scrapper, but I do have a look at it by eye. Now, earlier in the video, you saw me spray the yellow KaiserMist onto this white card, and I'm now going to use the Doily stamp and just make my own doilies, which I'm going to fussy cut again with the yellow just to add that tiny little pop. Now, for these, I wasn't really going for precision. They didn't have to be perfectly neat. They were simply going to form part of the background layers, which again just brings that yellow into it a little bit. So nothing, had to be perfect for this page because those layers were sort of being built up and some of the stuff was going to hide in the background. So it didn't have to be perfect to actually get on the final product of the page. Now the other thing that I've done is you'll see in building those layers that I've actually attached some cardboard onto the back. So I've actually done 3 layers. So it's got photo, cardboard, then it's got first layers of paper, then a second round of cardboard, and then a third round of paper before I even think about sticking that down onto that 12 by 12 background. Now I was looking at my cluster and I sort of thought I just needed something a little bit extra to help draw that attention more to the right hand side of the page. So I've made this little banner out of a 12 by 12 piece of the patterned paper, and the patterned paper was really just crying out to be coloured. So again, I've taken that yellow KAISERmist and I've coloured that just by hand, and not the whole thing, because again I don't want this to be a yellow dominant colour, but just enough that you can sort of see those little pops of yellow sneaking out here and there. Now, some of my layers were getting a little bit lost in everything that was going on. Lots of patterns, lots of textures, lots of interest. So I've just gone around with the ink pad, so just some black ink around some areas of that cluster, and that's just helped lift them off the back of the page. So the next step is to do some adhering and stick some of these elements onto that background. Now what I've done is stuck them down first with double-sided tape, and any that I'm worried about sticking to that gesso and that mist, I'll go ahead and I'll add some tacky glue to later on down the track. Now, despite having absolutely no plan when I started this page, I really like how it's coming together. I am looking at what was part of this collection and I'm thinking, okay, how can I just, again, add some interest and enhance this layout? So what I'm doing is taking the matching acrylic stamp that came with that Indigo Skies collection, and it's the flowers. So I'm going to stamp that just with some silver ink, and that's going to also get a coat of embossing powder, and I'm going to heat emboss that just to, again, give a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of interest in that background. So it does get, it's very subtle and it's not a bright element of the page, especially with that yellow and that blue that's going on. But I think when you see the final product, that little bit of sparkle with the embellishments as well is really just a great addition to the page. So that's set with my heat gun and I'm pleased with how it's looking. I don't want to add any more mixed media. I don't need to add any more layers of paper. The final stages of putting this layout together is to play with some of the die cuts and the sticker sheet. So basically what I'm doing here is picking through some of the elements that are going to work on the page, and you'll see that the collectibles contain quite a lot of blue, which is fair enough. It's the Indigo Skies collection, so you'd expect that. But because I already had a lot of blue and a lot of pattern and a lot of stuff going on this page, I chose to keep my embellishments primarily in that sort of lighter shade. So you'll see that I'm going to actually use this clock, and I do actually remove that little frame and it doesn't make it onto the final part of the layout. But I think that those little extra elements of white really do help in bringing this layout to be sort of one of the best I've ever created. I'm really proud of this. I love the final result, and I just think this collection is so wonderful. So if you haven't got your hands on it yet, make sure you definitely pick some up, because it's a great collection that would work with anything. Now I'm cutting some of these hearts and I'm just using some foam tape on them just to lift them off the page a little bit, having a look at what I'm going to title this page. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to title it Hello, if I was going to use something from the sticker. So I did end up using that sticker and incorporating that as part of my journaling. Now one of the other things that I really loved were these tiny little hearts on the stickers. So it's a whole line of them, but I've individually cut them in order to spread them around the page. And I think that it just really warms this layout to that lovely feel that you get when you add hearts to a page. So it's moving into the final stages of this layout, mostly just attaching some of the stickers. So I've got the little hello there, and I'm going to pop over to my computer and create some computer journaling. I'm going to print that out, edge it with a little bit of black ink just to help it blend into the page a little bit. Add another sticker down the bottom just to help with the storytelling element of the page. And the layout is complete. So I hope you have enjoyed this video from me. I've really had a wonderful time working with that Kaisercraft Indigo Skies collection. I'm loving the layout. It's turned into one of my favourites. So thank you so much for being with me today, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.